What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Phaithful Phanatics Show live here on DSM-Media's Philadelphia YouTube channel. Happy Friday. The Eagles wrap up their season in North Jersey against the Giants. Before we head into the playoffs, we're going to be talking about that matchup, as well as A.J. Brown finally speaks to the media, clears things up. Does it change your confidence level? I'll ask Scotty that later on in the show, and Joel Embiid returns to action in a big way. The Sixers have a back-to-back this weekend, so we're going to talk about it all. But guys, first and foremost, if you are new to the channel, if you like the content, if you want to be interactive here throughout today's show, make sure to support by smashing that subscribe button. It's the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with your host. I'm one half of them this morning, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty, my man. Happy Friday, and how are you feeling?
Happy Friday, my man. I'm feeling really good. Getting to it early here, back in our normal time slot. Just getting the day started right, man. And we got a big weekend for Philly sports ultimately, right? Like, obviously, the Eagles game, it is what it is at this point at the end of the season. You got a dismal Giants team, but you got to try to finish on the right note. And the Sixers are in a nice spot right now and just need to capitalize further on it. They got 2 home games in a row this weekend. So, take advantage and let's get some dubs. But it'll be fun to talk about, man. It's Friday, and I'm feeling pretty good, man.
Yeah. So where we last left you guys on Wednesday afternoon was pretty dejected, pretty down, at least for me. Scotty was possibly slightly more positive from a confidence level point of view than I am on the Eagles right now. But we were all kind of awaiting a certain wide receiver, a certain number 11 to speak to the media like he had tweeted out the night before. And shortly after we got off of here, he did just so. And A.J. Brown basically, in a nutshell, said that he didn't want to pile on. He was raised that if he had nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. The team was struggling. There was already a lot of drama going on. He didn't want to add on to the negativity. Here he is now basically taking responsibility, praising Nick Sirianni for taking responsibility and falling on the sword, especially in the Seattle game, which he mentioned. But just talking about how this team, Nick kind of has this team sticking together and that, they're going to turn things around. So, Scotty, I ask you, man, after that media talk, after whatever A.J. Brown got off his chest, how are you feeling heading into Week 18 and beyond? Because I see a lot of Eagles fans on Twitter, on social media, saying that this man might have just saved the season, that this quote might be what the team needed to kind of rally around and get back on track. And as we all thought and think, they are talented enough to do so. So just how strong were A.J. Brown's words to you?
Yeah, I loved what he said, quite honestly. I thought that he brought the right energy into the press conference. I think what he said made sense as far as where he stood with the team and speaking to the media. Him talking about Nick Sirianni, I think that was the most telling part for me, just showing his trust, his loyalty to Sirianni, and Sirianni kind of reflecting that back with the story that AJ told. And that kind of made me feel, well, I shouldn't say kind of, it made me feel a lot better about the relationships in-house. And I think that's a big thing because it felt like the locker room was fracturing. You have these anonymous reports coming out from Marcus Hayes, right? And it felt like the locker room was splitting a little bit. Maybe A.J. Brown was becoming a nuisance, but it actually was the exact opposite. So that was reassuring, right? It's reassuring when your number one wide receiver isn't necessarily upset with your coaching staff, isn't upset with the organization. He's just upset with the play on the field. And I think it makes sense. It's just nice to hear it come out of AJ's mouth. Absolutely. And show that he is a team first guy with all of his statements. What I'll say, man, at the end of the day, the offense can figure it out at any point down the stretch here. The offense can get going. They have all the talent in-house. Guys are healthy. The offensive line's coming back. Smitty's out of the boot. He's off the crutches. Like, you're going to be in great shape offensively for the playoffs. You just have to figure it out, right? Like, the mental mistakes can't happen. And I think the one benefit that the offense will have in the playoffs is that you have to leave it all out on the field at this point. Like, there is nothing else to save anything for, right? Like, there's no plays that you can save for later on in the season, trying to decoy this or whatever.
Yeah.
If that was ever the case, it's a big if, but it won't happen at that point, I would hope. The other thing that I would say, just regarding the AJ Brown comments, it's not going to fix the defense. The defense is what it is. Offensive players' comments, his dedication to the team, their talent level in offense is not going to fix the defense. But if the offense can get it going, they can balance out the team a little bit more, if they can get it going and be as strong as we know that the offense can. But I thought the AJ Brown comments were right on point. I think it was a good thing, and it does present this case, man, where this Cardinals loss, I'm not saying that it is. It's all going to, we won't know until hindsight. But this Cardinals loss could be what this team needed, just as far as like embarrassment, as far as stripping all of the expectations and all of the weight off of their shoulders at this point. Nobody nationally believes that this team will do anything in the postseason, right?
Yeah.
So there's no expectations for that team nationally at this point. And I think it allows them to step in for whatever fucking reason. Philadelphia sports teams have to step into this underdog role,
right,
to be successful in a sense.
I do not like.
That's what this could be at this point is, the expectations falling off and them stepping into that role and embracing it. It's not what we wanted from this team at this point. We wanted them to be the juggernaut, not the underdog. But I think we will see a highly motivated team the rest of the season into the postseason. Yeah. But the defense is going to remain a concern throughout the rest of this year because it has been so bad.
Yeah. I hope so. That's all I can really say at this point. All I have for you is blind faith, just blind hope, right? Because actions will always speak louder than words. And it's cool that AJ Brown spoke to the media. And we would like to think that we can fast forward 3 weeks and we look back on that moment and we can point to it and go, that's what this team needed. And it's a possibility. I'm not throwing it out the window like you, but I just need to see something, man, because if this is what it took, why? Why did it take the Arizona loss to turn things around? Why wasn't it the Drew Lock loss in Seattle? Why wasn't it the 3 turnovers in Dallas against your division rival to let them back in the division? Why wasn't it the NFC Championship rematch slaughter in your own crib? There's just been so many problems and mistakes and continuous red flags. And it's like, I need to see something before I just fully get back on board with this team. I'm always going to be on board, but it's tough, man. And to Marshawn Lynch's point, he didn't say anything about Brian Johnson directly. And then Brian Johnson decides to open his mouth and speak to the media after AJ Brown and just takes us 5 steps backwards. Because as great as AJ Brown's were, Brian Johnson's were just more worrisome. We have to force the ball to AJ. We have to find ways to get AJ Brown the ball. We have to force AJ Brown the ball. How about you scheme them open? How about motion? How about leverage? How about giving them an advantage pre-snap? Like he's sitting here acting like it's brain surgery to get this job done, to get AJ Brown, a top 5 wide receiver of the football. It's unbelievable. So
that comment's interesting because I do get where you're coming from. I just think when you look at like the Cowboys, for example, 17 targets to CeeDee Lamb against the Lions, that is forcing the ball to CeeDee Lamb. Like, you know what I mean? Like the Eagles wouldn't be wrong when they're in tough spots to force it to AJ Brown because he is so good. I do agree. The motion, getting AJ Brown, just running slants. I mean,
right. Like that's
it's not very complex in how you get him the ball. I agree with you there though. But yeah,
I think he needs just getting him the ball in general.
In a positive way for myself, just because I want the ball in AJ Brown's hands. But I agree with you.
Yeah, no, I looked at it in a confusing fashion because
like he doesn't know how to get him.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yes.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And he's sitting here, we have to make sure we get A.J. Brown going. Well, first of all, fucking duh. But second, like, bro, that is your job.
Yeah.
110% of the weight falls on your shoulders to get A.J. Brown the ball. And there are things you can do within your play calling, within your game plan, with pre-snap motion, with everything to get this man the football. And it's like they don't know how. That's confusing to me. Hassan Reddick spoke after A.J. Brown did. Feels like we took another step backwards there when you talk about the defense still being an issue. Now, you have A.J. Brown on one side of the ball taking responsibility and saying that it's the players, the coaches haven't been on the field for one snap this season. Hassan Reddick saying, well, we've gone through a defensive coordinator change and they both like different things, and that's been the communication. So it's what is it, fellas? What is it? Is it the coaching? Is it you guys? Because I'm just getting more and more confused here. But yes, I will agree with you the fact that the A.J. Brown comments could possibly be a turning point. And the last thing I'll say off of something you said is to this comment, absolutely the hell not. Great teams don't need it. And what you said, man, I'm trying to be positive, but what you said just angered me even more when it comes to this football team, because no one has expectations for this team. Maybe this is what they did it to themselves. No one has expectations for you because you're not good enough, because you're losing to the Arizona Cardinals, because you're losing to Drew Lock. This isn't just, the Eagles are 13-4 come the end of the season and the national media is against them and everyone against Philly and we can put the dog masks on. You have rightfully been removed from the conversation because of your own doing in the last couple of weeks. And that bothers me because, again, they're too damn talented. They're too talented for this mess across the board. Someone tweeted the other day, man, if we had who is it? Forbes? Is that the defensive coordinator for the Vikings? Or Flores, Brian Flores, excuse me. Brian Flores has the Minnesota Vikings playing at as a top 10 defense. Are you telling me the Minnesota Vikings have anywhere near the talent the Philadelphia Eagles do on defense? No. There's so much more to this team, and I do believe it's a combination of both. I think Brian Johnson's an issue. I think Sean Desai / Matt Patricia is an issue. And I also believe that the players on the field have been nowhere near good enough. You know what? I'm just confused. I'm just so confused.
I know, man, and I'm trying to keep it positive with the Eagles myself here. I agree with everything you said. I just think that when you look at the Eagles, it's obviously because of where this took place in the season, right? It's at the end. It's in December, going into the playoffs, and that's where the bad vibes come from. But at the end of the day, I just look across the league and there's no team that's unblemished, man. Like there's no team that doesn't have an issue. Injury concerns. I mean, Ravens, they've been great. They've been great, right? They went into San Fran, beat the 49ers. Keaton Mitchell just tore his ACL. They had to bring Dalvin Cook in. They still don't have Mark Andrews, their number one target on offense. Like every team across the board has issues. Like the Cowboys skate by here this week because they beat the Lions by 1 point.
Yeah.
At home off of a missed call at the end of the game. Like that cost the Lions the game. And they just get to skate by. And it's fine and it's fair because a win is a win at the end of the day. But the Cowboys have had issues as well. They were, one step away from 3 losses in a row themselves right here at the end of the season. So, like, to sit here and, like, feel like we are some – like inferior team to anybody outside of like San Fran or Baltimore. I get it. We just lost to the Cardinals. It was demoralizing. It's disgusting. But it's the low of the low, I would hope. Right. And I get it, man. I do.
Yeah.
They have done it to themselves. They lost that game. The defense couldn't stop the run. The defense couldn't stop Kyler Murray. They couldn't stop a Jonathan Gannon led team. And it's embarrassing. It is. But I do think that there is a light there for the Eagles, man, and it's not necessarily themselves. And I think that's your point, is that it's not themselves that is that light. They're not the juggernaut. They're not the favorite. And I think that's what is bothering you and why you can't get with that underdog mindset. And I understand that. But I think I'm just at the point now where I got to take what I got to take going into the postseason.
I hear you.
And just work with what we got. But I feel you. We were supposed to be the 13, the 14 win team when you're 10-1 at that point in the season. And now you're looking back, you have one win since then. That's not a great look.
Yeah,
it's not a great feeling.
Not at all. You're 1-4 in your last 5. This game obviously potentially means nothing almost. Obviously, you need a Cowboys loss. I keep going back over the course of the season, and I'm reflecting on what happened earlier on and how we got here and what can I take away from earlier that, they can kind of get back to, because essentially what we're hoping is that the Eagles are off track right now. They need to get back on track. But what was the track? Because in the middle of the season, even at 8-1, 9-1, hell, 10-1, the Buffalo win, we all thought things were going great, right? And then we kind of hit that block right after the Buffalo overtime win. But at the end of the day, what were we sitting here saying? The Eagles haven't played 60 minutes of clean football. We kept sitting here saying that San Fran went on a 3-game losing streak, but they had been playing their best ball before that. But the Eagles are winning without playing their best ball. Well, now so have we not played our best ball for 17 games or 17 weeks? That's what I'm kind of frustrated by, is we were hoping that at some point in the middle of the season, even though they were winning games, they would turn things around and they would start, the offense would get fixed, or the defense and the play calling, et cetera, et cetera. And now all those things are still an issue, except they're losing games. So what is the track they need to get back onto? Because even that track at times wasn't enough. Like the way we played Kansas City, that ain't beating San Fran. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm reflecting back on even the highs of the season and asking, even at that time, we were pleading them to fix things and clean things up. That's why I'm so concerned.
I get it. And it's revisionist, type of perspective to look back on the season and kind of have second thoughts on those wins that we were celebrating early on. But at the end of the day, man, there's so many different things that happen throughout an NFL game. If we go back and play what if with the Chiefs, we go back and play what if with the Bills, we can go back to the 49ers and play what if they scored the touchdowns at the beginning of that game and keep it, get a bigger lead, right? Same thing with the Cowboys. If you don't fumble 3 times in their territory in Dallas, maybe that game looks a lot different. I'm trying to keep it optimistic here. I'm not saying that I'm not where you're at. I want to be clear here. I'm not dumb. You know what I mean? I'm not dumb. I'm not. I know what this team has done. I know what they've shown this season, especially defensively. I do just think the offense has the talent. You tell me that Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy are in my way is if I have Jalen Hurts as my quarterback to get to the Super Bowl, I'll take those chances. That's the basis of where I'm at right now. We have the talent on offense to carry a said team. The defense just needs to be marginable at a certain point. If the offense can hit optimal level, that's key. The offense doesn't hit optimal level, this team goes nowhere. It's all based on the offense. But you do get guys like Slay back. He said he's feeling the best his knees have felt since 2016. So hopefully that's true. And then Zach Cunningham, man, I know it's not something we can use as an excuse. He's a free agent linebacker that was picked up right before the season started, but he's been our best linebacker. At the end of the day, he's been our best run tackling linebacker. He's been our best linebacker overall, and he will be back soon as well. So there's optimism there, but I
hear you. You know what's so crazy to me? You know what's so crazy? If you went back to prior to week 1 of this season and you take into account, the draft class with Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith and all these guys, right? If at that point you told us as Eagles fans that we had traded for Kevin Byard and traded for Darius Leonard at the time, could you imagine what would be going through our heads of how great this defense could be and how talented they are? And you fast forward to after their acquisitions, and you don't even know Kevin Byard's on the field, Shaq Leonard, or I said Darius Leonard, Shaq Leonard, or no, what am I saying?
His name is Darius. I don't understand it fully, but Shaq Leonard.
I just confused myself.
Yeah,
but Shaq Leonard, like, I don't know. I don't know what to think. But I do agree with you in the sense that in this day and age, it's how we won our Super Bowl. Your defense isn't going to win you a Super Bowl.
Just wasn't supposed to be like this. Wasn't supposed to. No.
Right. And again, so here's where my head's at. And I will give you a piece of positivity here in 1 second. Where my head is at is I agree with you. The talent, there's just too much of it on offense. This offensive line has 3 starting Pro Bowlers. 3. DeAndre Swift, 1,000 yards, made a Pro Bowl this year. A.J. Brown, 1,000 yards, made a Pro Bowl. Jalen Hurts, obviously, has taken a dip. Should be an MVP candidate. Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, Julio Jones caught 2 touchdowns, so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
The thing that I just can't get over right now, right in this point in time, is that it's been 17 weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at what point is it, whether it's the play caller, whatever it is, whether it's Nick's offense, at what point do we just admit or lay down to the fact that it's not good enough this year because of that issue? Now, maybe it changes, because that's the thing that has to change. I agree with you. That defense, even if the defense changes and is better, they ain't holding anybody to 20 points in the Super Bowl.
They only get better by the offense being better and having more of the ball, right? Like, that's what I mean. Like, the defense itself, I don't think is going to, like, take these marginal leaps. But I do think the offense could help the defense out a lot.
Yeah. This defense,
but,
man.
I feel you, man. It's a confusing-ass team. It's more about what I've seen from everybody else that leaves me with open optimism rather than what the Eagles have actually put in front of me. That's the best way that I can put it. But they have the talent, like you said, but it has been 17 games. We haven't seen it. You have to hope, man. You have to hope that they maybe go to like a run first offense, play really conservative football, and just like keep your defense off the field. Take care of your defense that way with time of possession, and just try to pound teams, man. Like that's what he did last postseason, right? That's what they switched to in the postseason. It was the Gainwell show of just pounding the rock. So
I need this defense to do for them to
fundamentals, man.
For them to get better, for them to step up in any way, shape, or form. I need them to do just one thing well on defense. I know that sounds incredibly disappointing and sad. I need at least get back to that run dominant defense, right? That's stopping the run, make teams one dimensional, and the pass rush can try to pin their ears back. That hasn't happened. You can't argue in any way that the secondary is a strength. We can't argue right now that the sacks are there. So, I need one thing to change and at least give me a hope that, hey, they might get off the field twice in the game, and maybe that's enough week to week. I don't know, right? But one thing needs to change for this defense. We're sitting here having this conversation, man, and again, part of me, you do sit back and you want to say, we keep thinking they have the talent. The talent's there. But at what point do you kind of go, is it because of 17 weeks? But it is, because it was
we've seen it.
Less than a calendar year ago, it was there in the biggest moment of the biggest games.
Yeah.
Does it remind you at all of the 2023 Phillies? Regular season, coming off a World Series appearance, middle of the summer, people were sitting here saying, what? This team won't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
This team can't get back to the World Series. You know how hard the road is. Does this team look like they're good enough? Blah, 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 blah. And then, obviously they didn't get to the World Series, but, you host the NLCS Game 7. We know the ending, right? Don't want to talk about it. But my point is,
be like losing to the Lions.
My point is, for a second, people started to think this team wasn't talented enough.
Yeah.
And you sit back and you go, but I just saw them do it. And then they almost do it again.
And
That's
they did
all
add
I can kind of
Julio. They
hang my
did
hat
add
on, right?
Olamide Zaccheaus, right, to the
Yeah.
offense. And it's like the Phillies did add Trey Turner to the offense.
Right.
And they
You add
should be even
DeAndre
better.
Swift, right? You
Yeah.
do all these things.
I do feel that, man. And the equivalent of the Diamondbacks is literally losing to maybe the Lions, or maybe it's the Rams. That would be the better comparison there. A lower seed. But who would you rather play in the playoffs first round, man? It looks like it's gonna be Atlanta, Tampa Bay, or New Orleans that we will most likely play in their house.
Well, I mean, give me the Atlanta Falcons, right?
And I would go Nola and then
by
Tampa
far.
Bay.
I agree. I think that Baker is the best quarterback, or he's playing the best quarterback this season in that division.
The best weapons.
Yeah, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, the way Rashad White's playing. They have pieces from that defense from before. That crowd down there, they're not far off of a Super Bowl victory, right? And so like they're still to get back there post Tom Brady. You don't want to do that. But I will say, to give you that glimmer of positivity that you're waiting for from me, it doesn't matter who they play out of the NFC South.
Fair enough.
The Philadelphia Eagles will be playing in the divisional round weekend.
Yeah, they better.
That I can tell you.
Yeah, they better.
Yeah.
But,
so that's my piece of positivity for the day. Yeah, I agree. I agree, Marshawn Lynch. And but by when you lose the division like this, and you have to play kind of the winner of the worst division in your conference, if you find a way to lose this game, no, put it away. Put it away.
You got to get the dog mask out, man. It's the only way. It's the only way Philadelphia can.
I can't accept the dog mask. I can't embrace it this
year. The only
year.
way they can win.
I cannot embrace it this year. You did it to yourselves. This isn't the world against Philly. This isn't unjust disrespect.
I can't wait for them to pull it out, man. They're gonna pull it out. I know that they will, man. They don't care what we think. They will pull it out, even if it's corny, dog. It's hilarious, but I do feel you, man. I'm not supposed to be some damn underdogs, dog.
No, but they will beat whoever's in that division. But if they don't, you do start to spiral. Wonder, you start to think about this offseason, man, and what needs to be fixed, and coaching adjustments, and player, all that. So you better win the first round. And I sit here and I can't help but go back to a point, something you said earlier on in the show, where the Eagles have had these issues and they're 1-4 in their last 5, but besides Baltimore and like San Fran, who really is that really well-oiled machine that you're genuinely afraid of, or sit back and go, they're almost definitely not winning this game? And you go, well, Dallas, they could beat Dallas, blah, blah.
Maybe.
I go to the Lions a lot, man.
Yeah.
Because they should beat the Lions. They should. Scotty. But all I keep picturing is this defense.
I know.
Against that offense. And I'm trying to put together one stop. I'm trying to think. I mean,
they can run the ball too.
You would need a Jared Goff implosion.
Yeah, they run the ball well as well, man.
Throw it to the good guys twice and set us up in good field position. You would need something. And that's,
you just have to hope that it becomes a shootout. That's a shootout game. Right. Yeah. I think the Cowboys, you have to beat them in a shootout as well. If you're going to Dallas to play them, you're not going to hold them under 30 points. So it would have to be a shootout against Dallas, a shootout. Yeah, even against San Fran. I mean, you're going to have to score 30 points against these teams, man. That's what it's going to come down to at the end of the day. But yeah, I do feel you, man. When it comes to like, the only team out of those 3 that doesn't scare me running the football really is the Dallas Cowboys, just because Tony Pollard has not been great. And they just love throwing the fucking football. They love doing it, right? But San Fran and Detroit, they have some mean running games, obviously. CMC, but then the tandem of Gibbs and Montgomery, the pace that you can switch between those guys It is intimidating.
Right.
I'd be lying if I said that I think the Eagles would blow the Lions out or something like that, or
And
even,
then what's so
100% confident
painful
we
if
beat
you
them.
play one of those
But
2 teams is you're gonna see all of the motion and all of the pre-snap
yeah.
tricks and the misdirection and revert, and I'm just gonna sit back and just be jealous and go, Why? Why can't we do any of it at all?" But, yeah, man, so with that said, let's just take it from here. This Giants game this Sunday,
Yeah.
obviously, you need a win and a Cowboys loss to win the NFC East and not be in this position. I'm not gonna lie to you, at least for the first round, I'd rather be in this position. Post that, no, I'd rather be home. But are you resting your guys? I know you brought up this question to me on Wednesday, and I was pretty anti it because I think this team just needs something to take into the postseason. I think they
Yeah.
just need a good, clean game. I think that I don't know if I love the fact that they're going into the postseason with the starters having that last taste of the Cardinals game in their mouths still.
Yeah.
But MetLife,
I know.
rainy, snowy, windy. I'm probably resting them, man. I don't know. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I think you in that those type of conditions, man. Me personally, I think I would just trust, to sit most of my guys. Like Swift would not be out there, AJ would not be out there, Goddard would not be
Yeah.
out there. Hurts obviously not out there. Kelsey, Lane, the older guys I would not have out there. Probably wouldn't want Landon or Cam out there, honestly, with their
No.
injury concerns this season. So I think this is a game where, one, you have to ask yourself, what is the realistic chance that the Commanders are going to beat the Dallas Cowboys this weekend? And I'm just checking to see. It is in Washington, but still, what are the odds that the Washington Commodores are going to take
Yeah.
care of the Cowboys for us? And I think if we be realistic with ourselves, reality says, right, they could lose. The Cowboys could, because that's a very cowboy thing. But I think the way the Cowboys match up with the Washington Commanders is just
Are you kind of scoreboard watching? Are you playing your starters? And if Dallas gets up 21-3, are you going, all right?
pull them. Yeah. You could operate that way. Like, I've opened myself up to them playing just because it would be horrible for the Cowboys to lose and then
And we
you
rest
lose as
and we
well,
rest
right?
everybody. Yeah.
So
I
it
think
would be
it is
horrible in that
it is a
sense.
good point. I'm probably lying to myself. I think just
Play
the
them for a
fact that
half.
you have a chance to win your division, like you have a
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah. It would be
You're
pretty weak
doing a
to not play for
disservice
that.
to yourselves and the fan base
Yeah.
by just not even attempting to do it, right?
Yeah.
I think you have to be smart about it. Yeah, I think you start them depending
Like,
on how your own game is going and how Dallas's
I
game
would
is going.
say bench like Dallas Goddard. He has the forearm. Bench DeAndre Swift. We know the
Yeah.
injury concerns that come with him.
So
Let Gainwell,
I'm
let Jack
assuming
Stoll out
Boston
there.
Scott is
Yeah,
winning,
Boston
is scoring a
Scott.
touchdown this week, right?
Yeah.
Didn't get
Yeah.
one on
This would be
Christmas
a good
Day.
game for Boston Scott to get some touches. Yeah, I agree.
Rashad Penny get some touches this Sunday.
Hell no. You know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And it is a chain reaction, right? Because if you go from, all right, well, I don't want Lane and Kelsey playing. Well,
Why would
how are
Hurts
you
play?
just going to allow Dickerson and Cam and Mailata to play? And
Yeah.
if you go to the fact that, I want to sit 4/5 or off of my starting offensive line, well, then I'm not putting my starting quarterback out there. And if
Right.
I'm not putting my starting quarterback out there, I'm not putting my top tier wide
AJ
receivers
out.
out there
Yeah.
for trying to get, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
just a chain reaction if you start from there, right? So
It would be nice, I would say, like, momentum wise, like, if you want to give us some like great vibes going into the postseason. Let me hone that back. Great. No, there's no great vibes going into the postseason. Let me bring that back a little bit. If you want to give us some better vibes going into the postseason, I think coming out, having, one or two great drives offensively, getting the ball to AJ, maybe getting him a touchdown or something, get the crowd hype, get the fans back invested into the team and show that you can do what you want in a situation. You know what I mean? You can enforce your will. But Yeah, that would be the one thing that I'm like, okay, starters, a couple possessions. But yeah, I think ultimately Nick Sirianni, he knows that. And as we talk through it, I think I realized myself, like, you do have a chance at winning the division. You do have a chance at winning home field advantage, at least for the first 2 rounds. So you should take that risk,
Absolutely.
I guess, at least
All right.
until the end of the first half.
You hear that? Here comes the sickness out of me.
It's that time.
I'm such a sick bastard. Here's where the faith has to come from. If I can believe in a 2017 Philadelphia Eagles team heading into the playoffs with Nick Foles as their starting quarterback after losing the MVP of the league, with no starting left tackle, missing Darren Sproles, missing your starting middle linebacker, missing X, Y, and Z, and the way they had been looking, remember that, let's not forget that. Christmas night, remember that against the Raiders, how ugly, the Giants game, how ugly.
Yeah.
They rested their starters. They had one good drive from Foles, right? If I can believe and have hope in that team that wins 15-12 or 15-10 against the Atlanta Falcons in round 1, and I can believe in them moving forward. If I can believe in the 2018 Nick Foles-led Eagles after a double doink, if I could truly get down to it and believe in that team to do it, I have to believe that this team has a chance. And that's the sickness in me, because I want to hate this team right now. With what they've done, I want to just say, F them, remove myself. I can't care. I'm not getting hurt. And then you buy the hoodie and you get the mug and you sit here and you go, no, it's just a part of who I am. And you have to believe in this team.
And you know where we're at now. You know where we're at as a fan base. You know where we're at as a team right now. And it's the Philadelphia versus everyone, right? Everybody on ESPN, they don't give the Eagles a chance, and it's rightful, right? It's deserved to be that way. But we're getting to that point where, all right, we can badmouth the Eagles. We can talk shit. We can be down on them. But you guys better not be. You better not come into the game expecting the Eagles are going to fall over, right? Like, that's where I'm asking the Eagles to answer the call. Come out and give your bet. Like, what I'm really, like, what I want to see in the postseason. I know this is preemptive. We still got a week left. Go out there and leave it all on the field. Like, let's be honest. They have not done that.
This is I got to see something in here.
Yeah.
Right?
Dignity,
you had the San Fran rematch. You had the Cowboys disaster in Dallas when you had a chance to take a chokehold on the division. You've had Jonathan Gannon coming back to town, and you keep getting knocked down.
Yeah.
At what point does this team respond from in here? And this is, again, where I'll leave it before we move on to the Sixers and end the show here, man. Not only were we believing in, the 1-seed Eagles, even with Nick Foles and not Carson Wentz, man, it does go back to the point that we've kind of been a little spoiled. And again, all the criticism, all the blame, all the shit I gave them for the first 35 minutes of the show is deserving. They have put themselves in this scenario, in this situation, in this hole, right? But if I can believe in seasons where Sam Bradford was this team's starting quarterback, or Mark Sanchez was coming off the bench on Thanksgiving Day to beat the Dallas Cowboys on the road, and you as a fan sit here and hope that they can make the playoffs, and you root for them to make the playoffs. Why? Because you're hopeful they can move up the ladder and get to the Super Bowl. If you can have hope in those teams, how are you not going to have hope in the probable 12-win team at all?
I agree.
Again, they deserve everything thrown their way. They've been awful. But I can't bury them. I want to bury them. I want to close the casket. I can't do it.
The reason I giggled during your spiel there is because I imagined them losing this weekend.
Yeah. No, forget this weekend. Forget this weekend. Just imagine them losing first round, like
Yeah,
in
first
Atlanta or
round,
some
man.
shit.
Like
Yeah. And
get
then,
out of here.
yeah,
But
just
no.
going back to this speech and going, oh,
One
okay.
last thing there, man. One
Yeah.
last thing. Jason
Yeah.
Kelsey, right? And there was something I saw pointed out on the X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days. But it was talking about the Ravens in 2012, how they kind of finished the season out very poorly, went into the postseason. It's Ray Lewis tour, right? His final postseason of his career. He announced it right before the playoffs. And they were able to ride that. They were able to ride that to a Super Bowl victory, man. Give us some vibes. Give us something to ride. Give us something to ride through the postseason. And maybe it's the Jason Kelsey farewell tour. I'm not saying he needs to announce it or anything, make any decisions, but
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel like Jason Kelsey's last season. So keep all of that in perspective as well, right? I definitely want the Eagles to keep that in mind because we just don't have a ton of years left with BG, Fletch, Jason, Lane, these cornerstones. So hopefully these guys just they wake up, man. That's where I'll leave it though.
Yeah. No, I agree. Next week, obviously heading into the wild card weekend in round one, we will obviously talk
Got to
about
link up.
who and what needs to step up for this team, right? And get right here. Real quick before we wrap the show up, last couple minutes here, let's talk some Sixers. Obviously, Sixers. Am I trying to think back to when this game was? This was Wednesday night, correct?
Yeah, they had two nights. No,
Yeah,
it
2 days.
It might have been Tuesday, man, because they had 2 nights off. So it might have been.
Oh yeah, that's what I was trying to say because we did talk about Joel's return on Wednesday show. That's why I was like, this scheduling's been so weird.
It was weird.
I saw something on Twitter like yesterday that the Sixers have the lowest or second lowest scheduling favor, like like basically rest. They have the second lowest total in the NBA in terms of an advantage with rest in their matchups.
Well,
and then
last night there's 2 NBA games on. They're the only 2 games on.
Yeah.
But then the Sixers play a back-to-back tonight and tomorrow. Like that's backwards, man.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
And then
if the Knicks played last night.
Right. And then you look at the fact that, they play who they play. They play the Knicks tonight, and then you get Utah at home. So, I mean, this is a chance for the Sixers to actually, get a sweep here for the first time in terms of a back-to-back, man. But
weekend.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, here's where my mind's at with this team, man. The rumors are starting to swirl. It's the new year. It's January. The deadline's just over a month away. I'm excited for this deadline. And you're seeing all the reports and rumors of who the Sixers are linked to, even types of players they're being linked to, right? A backup, another ball handler, a 3-and-D, not a 3-and-D, but a wing kind of guy, right? You're seeing all these different examples, and you just know that Daryl Morey's going to have his fingerprints all over this market. But my question is, like, should we take a step back? Because I'm getting excited, and I'm going to be happy with anything. I'm going to be happy with a Tyus Jones. I'm going to be happy with one move they make that can make this team better, because that's all they really need at this point. But we're sitting here, they're being linked to this guy and this type of player, and look for the Sixers in this market. And where are they going? You know what I mean? Like what?
Yeah.
When you look at the rotation right now, like the Sixers aren't adding 3 pieces. I mean, maybe if they like move Tobias and another bench piece, and you know what I mean. But outside of that, you're looking probably at 1 move, right? Maybe 2, but probably 1 move. What are you targeting the most?
So I guess the way I would put it, like the best fit in my eyes to this team right now, like just take a Tobias out and insert someone. The best fit for me would be a guy like DeJounte Murray. Now I know Marshawn Lynch, if you're out there, I know he doesn't agree with that. But I think DeJounte Murray, the way he would balance out the backcourt with Tyrese Maxey and the playmaking ability that he would bring as well. He's become a better shooter. He can get to the rim. He defends. He's lengthy. I think he would fit seamlessly with that lineup that you talked about, right? Like the Tyrese Maxey, Kelly Oubre, Nick Batum, Tobias, and Embiid.
Right.
Well, let's look at it like Maxey, DeJounte Murray, Kelly Oubre, Nick Batum, Embiid. That lineup looks crazy to me, and
Yeah.
that lineup seems like a real contender in the NBA. But there's another one in Washington. You mentioned Tyus Jones, and the question I was going to present to you is, it's a fishy move. It is a risk. I mean, bringing in a guy like Kyle
KK.
Kuzma.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my idea is Kyle Kuzma and Tyus Jones, right? A package deal. Tyus Jones on Kyle Kuzma on a multi-year contract. Tyus Jones on, I believe, a 1-year contract expires at the end of the year. Bringing both of those guys in, I think, would be a risky move, but definitely a move that could propel you into a contender level type of situation. If I'm being honest, the Sixers could be contenders right now. They could, man. They really could.
No, I agree.
They really could. It's highly dependent on Joel Embiid, and I think adding another piece kind of takes that dependency off of him a little bit, takes the weight off his shoulders a little bit.
And Maxey as well, right?
Like Maxey as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when you get to the postseason time, can you have someone else to relieve some of his duties in the half court with the ball in his hands? Because we know Maxey can catch and shoot. He doesn't need the ball in his hands at all times. Can play off ball. So I agree with you. The Kuzma thing's interesting, right? Because it's not just that he plays for Washington. Tyus Jones plays for Washington. So, you're talking about someone in a losing culture, bring him here. That's not the point. It's the worry with Kuzma, right, is almost like the embrace of the losing culture. Kind of really since he's been in the league, right? He was goofy out in LA. Was he with Nick Young out in LA? Like they were just.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he started with
him. You look at it from that point, like him and Jordan Poole are throwing off the glass and lobs to each other down 35. Like that's the concern, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not that he's part of losing culture. It's the fact that he is like comfortable in a losing culture, braggy in a losing culture. And you just wonder if that works. Now you bring him in a locker room surrounded by, Joel Embiid and Nick Batum and guys and Pat Bev and guys like that.
Kelly Oubre on the Hornets. That's losing. He comes to the Sixers. He fits in perfectly towards winning basketball. So I think it is one of those things where if Kyle Kuzma came to this team, he would have to hone it in a little bit, right? You're not taking as many shots, right?
No, you're not.
He's the complete opposite of Tobias, right? When Tobias only shoots the ball 3 times in a night, Kyle Kuzma's never doing that, right? So that's the opposite.
I think it's a good idea, though, in terms of package, because if you want to ask me, am I moving Tobias Harris for a Kyle Kuzma type deal because of the money in it? No, I'm not.
Right.
But you tell me I can get Kyle Kuzma and Tyus Jones off the bench with this starting 5. It's pretty fucking enticing, right?
That's nice,
so that is an interesting move. What about Bogdanovich, not the Pistons? What about Bogdan from Atlanta?
I like it, man. I really do like it. I think he's a tough, gritty guy too. We've seen him obviously light the Sixers up in the postseason.
That shooter coming off the bench.
That shooter, man, and that shooter just what we've seen from Maxey and his ability to get in the lane and get in play make. Right, we didn't know that he had that playing off of Embiid. I mean, this is a guy that could really start for you next to Maxey in a sense. He gives you the opposite of DeJounte, right? Where DeJounte takes the ball out of Maxey's hands a little bit and provides more playmaking. This move would provide Maxey with a nice spot-up shooter, a nice guy that can get hot around him, and it's just going to create space for everybody else. That's for
everybody. With that's my big thing, right? Go back to when was it that second Boston game when we had a lineup of Jaden Springer and Marcus Morris, who wasn't shooting the ball well at the time, Robert Covington, and we're looking for an outlet pass, but no one can knock down the open 3. Now imagine Bogdanovich coming off the bench on a second unit when Embiid's the one starter out there and he's backing someone down and there's just space, right? There's Bogdan, there's Kelly Oubre, there's whatever, Marcus Morris. Now
you don't have to give up much for it.
See, that's the thing, man. These guys that are going to come, whoever it is that's going to come in, their lives are going to be made easier playing with Joel Embiid. But I'm looking for a difference maker in terms of who who makes those advantages that a Boston can utilize or a Miami can utilize disappear or limit them? Meaning, what piece are we missing off the bench that when we play the Boston Celtics and Joel Embiid's in the post, they're going to make you pay from the outside off the outlet pass?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we don't have much of that right now. So who could be that difference maker? And because once you have that guy and they can't throw those double teams at you, well, then night.
Like,
right?
I go back to Bogdanovich is definitely one that I think is realistic, and I would love to see that move take place. I go back to the Washington move that we discussed here with Kuzma and Tyus, and you talk about big shot making, and I know they're playing losing basketball for the Wizards right now, but you look at Kuzma, he won an NBA championship with the Lakers in 2020, he played next to LeBron, right? Like, was part of that culture. He contributed to that. He's a big piece of that. And he's more willing to shoot the three than Tobias Harris. And I think that's a really, really big part of it.
More
also,
athletic.
He's a better playmaker than Tobias Harris as well.
And a lot more athletic, right? So,
and then
Tyus, defensively, I don't know if he's going to give you much defensively.
Tyus is my Duke guy. He hit some big shots in that national championship win. So he's a guy. Tyus Jones is a guy that always makes the right play. He's never going to take a shot that is like unadvised. He's going to get guys.
He is a fundamental point guard.
Exactly.
Is, right? He's like he is a smaller, limited Jalen Brunson, right? You watch Jalen Brunson at Villanova, and then how he's transitioned.
That's actually a good comparison.
Bro, I'm being honest. When you watch Brunson coming out of Villanova, he was a dog at Nova.
Yeah, you had your concerns though.
Did you think he was a starting NBA point guard, not just a max player, an all-star?
Nah, you know what I mean? Being completely honest, no. I mean, he has like the intangibles, right? Yeah. Like the dog mentality, like you mentioned. He can hit big shots because he's a shot maker, he's a shot creator.
They're slower. The ball handler's a little dude, because at that time he was Ryan Arcidiacono 2.0, right? It was Arch's team, the national chip. Brunson was a freshman. He comes in, takes over.
Come from Villanova like that, right? That clicked at Villanova and then just turned into like
and then from Brunson to Colin Gillespie, they're all the same. They all look the same on a basketball floor, except Brunson made it here to this point. And I think Tyus Jones is kind of a good example of just that. You just watch him handle the ball. It's tight, right? It's like you said, it's a little slower because he makes the right plays all the times. I don't know. That's just what I see, but. Here's what we'll do.
Just look at those spots. Last thing there, those spots where D-Melt was missing 3 after 3 against the Celtics last year.
Right.
Just put Tyus Jones in that spot, and I guarantee you he makes at least 2 out of those 3 that D-Melt made.
Correct. And here's what we'll do. Obviously, next week we'll have Eagles talk all week long, heading into Wild Card Weekend. Just not dependent, but seeing on who they play. And as in the coming weeks, as the trade deadline kind of abruptly comes up on us, we will go kind of over our favorites and all possible targets in terms of Sixers targets at the trade deadline. But guys, that's going to wrap up this Friday edition of the Phaithful Fanatic Show. For myself, for Scotty, for DSM, have a great rest of your weekend. Don't forget to support by smashing that subscribe button. Thank you. We appreciate each and every one of you in the comments, and have a great Friday.